Hey there, friends, and welcome to episode 306 of Just the Zoo of Us. This week I am joined by an artist and science communicator for an appropriate kickoff to October, the month of all things wretched, with a review of Disgust. We talk about phobias and ways that we can relate and empathize with even our most feared animals, why we might want to move into a termite colony, anatomical surprises, the uncanny valley, how to make a slime meringue, and so much more. Just the Zoo of Us presents a review of Disgust with Nature Disturbed. Hi there, everybody. It's Ellen Weatherford with Just the Zoo of Us, your favorite animal review podcast. I'm very excited this week to have a fun little treat for all the sickos and weirdos out there like me. We have a new friend from the world of art. I'm always excited to have people on who are bringing insights from creative backgrounds and from creative angles. This is Nature Disturbed.
Hi.
Should I call you Nature?
Nature, ND.
Oh, see, ND for Nature Disturbed. Now it's like Andy almost.
Yeah, well, my dad's name, so...
Yeah, oh no, Mr. Disturbed was my father. Please call me Nature.
Yeah, or just Miss, whatever I'm feeling like on that day, or whatever you're feeling like is great.
Perfect. On that note, what are your pronouns?
I was thinking he, him, but if we start to cut up, I guess, and tell some funny jokes, you can switch to she, her. But I don't really mean that.
Oh, okay.
He, him is great.
And you are a very talented artist. You make some very charming art that I find very endearing. And this art often focuses on nature and wildlife, but really leans into the disturbing elements of animals and nature, and that really does it for me. So I was wondering, how did you end up doing these illustrations? How did you wind up doing like nature-focused art?
Well, thank you for that very kind introduction. I have always drawn animals since I was very young. I think that my recent style kind of stems from a place of, I used to try really hard to draw scientifically accurate creatures and eventually kind of fell out of love with that when I could see that it just was like so much effort and it wasn't really scratching that itch, and then fell out of drawing for a while, and then lockdown happened and had a little bit of time to fill, and realized that actually it was a lot more fun to go off piste, I guess, and throw caution to the wind. And the funny thing is, I guess I do actually look at references for an animal's body plan when I draw, but I've clearly got a brain that's a bit...
having fun with it.
Yeah. The results are not always accurate.
Well, I like that. I like the idea of throwing caution to the wind, right? Because I do think when you're doing something where you're trying to like toe the line between being creative and being, I guess, faithful to the material you're trying to represent, yeah, it can be really stressful. Does it feel like liberating to just be like, you know what? I'm going to make this animal the way it feels to me. Not necessarily 100% the way it would look in a photograph, but like the way it feels.
Yeah, I think that's right, because there is so much character in everything that an animal does, and it changes very much depending on the species and, you know, what it's doing in that moment. Yeah, and you see that when you're watching them in real life. And they do range from really cute and adorable to diabolical, and it's fun to toe that line.
Were you an animal kid? I know you said you've always drawn animals. Was this kind of an interest for you as a child?
Yes, certainly. I grew up watching The Lion King and Jurassic Park, and I wasn't a Barbie kid or I don't even know what boys do.
A Hot Wheels kid?
Hot Wheels.
My 4-year-old's really in Hot Wheels right now.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, no Hot Wheels for me, unfortunately. It was plastic animals all the way.
That was me, 100%. Like, I would only be interested in the Barbie set that would come with little animals as part of the set, because it would be like, Barbie's a vet, or Barbie works at a zoo, or something. And I was like, and then I would immediately discard the doll.
Yeah. That's interesting, going down the Barbie route. Animal models via Barbie is innovative, I feel. I used to collect a brand called, well, I call them Schleich, but that's definitely not how it's pronounced. It's a German brand. I think they're called Schleich, something like that.
Yeah, I can see them in my mind's eye. I definitely have some in my loft right now.
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
Well, I was an antelope kid.
Ooh.
So my birthday presents would be like retired models that you could only find on eBay, of like kudus and Gemsbok and wildebeest. That was my kind of thing.
Some ungulate deep cuts.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love that. My interest in animals kind of blossomed into an antelope fanaticism.
Antelopes specifically, is there anything in particular about antelopes that like drew you in?
Yeah, well, I've tried to unpack this almost pathological attraction to them, a bit of self-therapy. I really like the way that there's something almost collectible about them in my mind. Like, there's so many different types of one thing, although I think antelope is actually quite a vague word, and they're also aesthetic. So
yeah, they're great. No skips in the antelope family.
yeah, I think that's probably right. Yeah, they're all really beautiful.
I do feel like when you're watching a documentary about like the African savanna or something like that, the focus is usually not on the antelopes. The antelopes are usually the set dressing. They're almost like a prop, or like they're like there for the predators to interact with, you know? Like they seem like kind of like NPCs in the documentary.
Yeah, they get a hard reputation, or at least not even that. I guess they're just undervalued.
The short end of the stick, really.
Yeah.
They're the extras that like they don't get speaking lines or anything.
Yeah, unpaid roles.
Yeah, they're the interns of the savannah.
Yeah, it's terrible, really, especially things like wildebeest, which are pretty ugly.
I just saw a video. Oh, it wasn't wildebeest that I was thinking of. I was thinking of water buffalo. But I think wildebeest also will spend a good amount of time in the water. They're really cool to watch. I do feel like we should like give them the spotlight more.
Yeah, wildebeest spend a lot of time in water when they are navigating the Mara River, I think, when they're making that perilous journey. And then, yeah, even then they're getting trashed on camera, so...
Yeah, because it'll be like the wildebeest is always being like hunted somehow. Somehow they have ops in every possible direction. But the antelopes don't get the same hype, which I think is super unfair because they're in like this evolutionary arms race with cheetahs. So like we're giving cheetahs all this credit for like being so fast. Like they're getting faster and faster and faster. But it's like, yeah, they're only that fast because the antelopes have to keep getting faster. I feel like we should be sharing the credit a little bit here. Why are the cheetahs the only ones getting hyped up for their speed?
It might also be because they are the passive ones, I guess, in that scenario, and maybe that also draws me to them. I don't know if I'm doing too much of a deep dive on myself, but
a lot of your work, both in your art and also in your new podcast, Nature Disturbed, which also leans into these elements of nature that might be disturbing in some way, like whether they're disgusting or spooky or you know, just a little bit of the gnarlier elements of nature. What do you feel like you are like usually more drawn to, like macabre, like sort of more dark things in general? Does that like kind of only apply to like nature stuff?
I definitely am drawn to them. And I guess that comes out in the name. Sometimes I wonder if I've boxed myself in by naming myself that.
But I do think there's a lot of interpretation.
Yeah. Well, that's cool that you said that. There is the idea that nature is disturbing, which is true if you're looking at it from a human perspective. Some of the things that animals do are really gnarly and shocking. And then the idea that nature is being disturbed by us as humans. There's not really any places on Earth where it's untouched. Even in the deep sea, there's litter. the atmosphere. So yeah, I guess there are a few different meanings behind the name. And it is something that's easy to draw humor from, I think, which is one thing that I really appreciate, trying to find the humor in a behavior that is quite bizarre. So it kind of lends itself to that. And honestly, there's just like, it kind of feels like the gift that will never stop giving. If you're looking for weird things about animals, it's just an infinite well of crazy information.
And it feels like every couple of months or so, we wake up, babe, a new horror just dropped.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of how some people really enjoy horror movies, but you get people who like horror movies because they don't get scared, versus people who like horror movies because they do find them scary and they enjoy being scared. You know, like there's like, I feel like there's different ways to approach the same appreciation. So I wonder, where do you feel like you fall on that? Do you like experience that like revulsion or disgust or something like that about some of these animals?
You know, I guess a central part of the Nature Disturbed thesis is we shouldn't judge animals because they're doing their thing and we can't look at them through a human moral lens. But the real answer is absolutely. Some animals are horrifying and depraved. And yeah, I do have quite a visceral reaction to things. I mean, I love horror as well. And well, for me personally, I guess like you said, some people can watch it and not feel anything, and that's maybe they get a sense of pleasure in that. But it's nice to feel something, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you need something just to feel alive.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, even just during the time that I've made our podcast, first of all, I feel like the element of learning more about something, I think, lifts the veil of disgust, you know, because I think a lot of disgust is rooted in lack of comprehension. Like when something is inscrutable or when something is like confusing, then you can experience some disgust from that. And then I think demystifying it alleviates the sense of disgust. I found that to be the case for a lot of things. Like we did an episode not too long ago on camel spiders. Or the solifuge, not technically a spider, but it was one of those things where like the first few times I saw pictures of them many years ago, I definitely had an immediate sense of like alt tab, like close the window, slam my laptop shut, have to walk away, never want to see that picture again. And then now that I've learned, first I had to learn more about arachnids in general. And then I was like, okay, I can tackle these camel spiders again. And then I learned more about the camel spiders, got to know them a little bit better, and they really don't disgust me that much anymore. Do you feel like the element of like understanding has a relationship to like disgust?
Definitely. I think that we are drawn to animals that are cute and we're hardwired. So they say to look at things that have features which might be appealing on a human, like big eyes.
Oh, yeah.
So we see them in like little beautiful cubs and adorable lambs and whatnot. And that we can see aesthetics in nature based on our own perception of what's beautiful, which definitely skews what we can relate to. Animals like reptiles and, you know, fish can be really smart, but because we have a very different body plan to them, different way of life, it's very difficult to empathize sometimes and to imagine that they are, you know, cooperative social animals in the way we can see wolves are, for example.
Yeah, it's hard to see yourself in them, you know.
Yeah.
There are a lot of phobias and sort of gut like disgust reactions towards animals that I think are rooted in sort of like a protective instinct that makes a lot of sense. That's like a snake or a spider, you know, something that very well could inflict very serious damage on you or even kill you. So it makes a lot of sense for you to like have that sort of like gut instinct. But also, I think this has also been kind of studied a little bit, but I don't know to what extent, that like that's also learned and that it's not inherent. It's not like a born, not always. I think, you know, everybody's going to be different, but like you learn your reactions to things, which I think I've seen a lot in my own kids, because And my younger son, who has grown up in it after I've like learned a lot more about spiders and about bugs, and I've really relaxed around them a lot. And my reactions to spiders and bugs are much calmer, where like when I see one, I don't immediately freak out like I used to, probably like, before we did this podcast. So you can see my younger son has a very, very different response to bugs and spiders than even my older son, who, grew up who was that age before I, learned a lot more about them. So my younger son will like walk right up to them and, he'll kind of like, he'll touch them and he'll hold them if it's something he can hold, safely. So like I can even see in my kids, their reactions and their perception of animals and wildlife changing with my education. Like not even them, it's like me.
I think it must be, yeah. That actually reminds me of a Peppa Pig episode. I don't know if you heard about this, where it was, it's an English TV show. So in England, nothing can kill you because we've killed everything, or we just don't have too many poisonous things there. But it was about how you shouldn't be afraid of spiders. And then they pulled the episode in Australia because
they were like, okay, you should be scared of spiders. Us over here in England, we're good.
But that's great that you've gone on a journey of learning to accept creepy crawlies. That's nice.
Have you had any journeys of acceptance with any of your demons?
I think I'm on a journey with cockroaches.
Fair. I'm from a place where cockroaches fly. So I get it. It's a big ask.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about them. I'm actually having a physical reaction now even thinking about them, which is crazy. But
well, I think a lot of people with phobias like that can relate.
But I think that insects are one of the big ones. There's a theory, it's called the urbanization disgust hypothesis.
Oh.
So the more urbanized we become, the more fearful we become of insects.
Really?
Yeah. And we also have more of a visceral reaction to seeing them inside. When I think of a cockroach outside, but also like it's less invasive.
Right. You're like, you know what? That one's on me for being in your house.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I had this is gross, but I had a day where I like got back and took my trainer off and realized that obviously when I put my shoe in, there had been a cockroach in it and there was like a squished cockroach in there, which I'd been walking around with all day long.
Yeah, I would have been horrified.
Yeah.
I would have been mortified by that.
But that was on me. I was the scary one in that scenario because I guess I came out on top. But there's an idea as well that insects are one of the things that we are disgusted by because, I think that it's definitely been skewed as we have moved into dwellings and we don't see them as much and we kind of paint them all with the same brush, which is not necessarily logical, but an innate part of disgust, which is an evolutionary mechanism that kind of runs parallel to being afraid of lions. It's a similar thing, but it happens about pathogens and parasites. So that's me justifying my fear.
There's a reason our brains are telling us like, hey, get away from this situation. Like this is a danger zone. We had a guest on a long time ago to talk about cockroaches. The researcher who was on gave some really, really cool insights into, what they find endearing almost, or like, positive aspects of cockroaches. Have you found any like aspects of cockroaches that you find appealing or that you have kind of like see as like something to love about them?
I have, yeah. I really forced myself to sit down and think about why they aren't just vile demonic creatures from hell. I put the work in.
That's the important part. You're doing the work.
Yeah. So I guess one big thing is just the fact that they have a hugely important role in ecosystems. That doesn't make me want them crawling all over my body, but in places like rainforests, they might be the single biggest food source for animals like birds and lizards and other insects.
They are, because they are a quite large insect.
Yeah.
So, that would be like just a little cheeseburger crawling around on the forest floor.
Yeah. And they also are really, I think they're smart is one thing, which actually is like, kind of freaks me out about them, but you have to hand it to them. They look very thoughtful, and they'll clean their antennae because it's full of chemoreceptors, which is one of the things that makes a lot of them so good at surviving in human environments, because they're able to find food wherever it might be. And they're really good parents as well, which I didn't know, which is actually quite sweet.
It is. I feel like with arthropods in particular, depending on how much of an anarchist you want to be about using the term bug, usually they just kind of like lay their eggs and leave. And they're like, whatever, that's fine. You figure it out. But can I tell you what bug, in quotes, I almost made a 180 on in my feelings about once I heard about their parenting, is centipedes. There is, I think it's called the fire centipede. I'm going to have to look it back up. But there is a type of centipede that the mother, after she's laid her eggs, will curl her body around the eggs. And, she's got 20,000 billion legs. So like the legs, she's kind of all, and it's almost like an embrace around the eggs. And it's really something you really don't see in arthropods very often. And so once I saw pictures of this centipede mother just curled around her eggs, something really melted in me where I was like, maybe they're not that bad.
I guess it's relatable.
Yeah, like you said, like when it's so difficult to relate to the behavior of an animal and you find one thing that you're like, man, I get that.
Yeah, although they like to pig out too.
Same.
Yeah. So we have that in common, I guess, with cockroaches.
Yeah. For those who would like to hear more about cockroaches, head all the way back to episode 98 on cockroaches with Charles Wallace.
Also, termites are cockroaches.
Huge. Huge. You'd think they would be with ants, but no, but they're not.
Yeah, they're little incognito cockroaches.
Which I'm sure is not helping endear them to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, some people are like, that's actually another L in the cockroach column, I fear.
Yeah, I guess not anteaters or aardvarks, I suppose. But yeah, I guess that's just another example of cockroaches being really important ecological engineers who completely transform landscapes. And they're also really socially sophisticated. So I guess you have to hand it to them.
In what way?
Well, termites are eusocial, which means that I think there are three things that are involved in that. One being they live in multi-generational units. They also have differentiated workers, so different castes, and they also share parenting, which is pretty generous and perhaps something that actually humans could take a leaf out of their book.
I was about to say, this sounds pretty progressive.
Yeah.
They sound like they're living in a cockroach utopia.
Yeah.
They're like the Galactic Federation or something. They're like living in Star Trek society.
Yeah, in these amazing skyscraper-like homes.
You think they have credit scores? You think they have to pay bills? No.
Yeah, and I wonder what their politics is like. I'm sure it's a lot more calm and considered and fair.
They have free healthcare.
They do have free healthcare. They don't have to pay for childcare.
Oh my God, what I wouldn't give. I kind of feel like maybe, do you think they're accepting immigration at the moment? Do you think I could get a visa?
You know what? I don't even think they have the concept of immigration because that's how progressive they are. So if you just crawled into a termite mound and got to work, I think that would be the main thing, just as long as you are chipping in.
Yeah, just pull your weight.
You'd be accepted.
If they're anything like how the ants are just sort of so almost like robotic in their like behavior, they'd be like, I don't know. I mean, you smell kind of weird, but my job's getting done, so I better not investigate this.
Yeah, it's not my job to ask questions.
It is my job to move this leaf.
Send a postcard. I'd love to know how it goes.
I will. I'll have it postmarked from Termite Colony. Hey there, we're going to take a quick break to hear from a couple of the other shows in the Maximum Fun Network. When we get back, we're going to hear about some more animals that tend to give people the ick, so stick around.
Hey, it's Sue the subway train. Hey, guess what, Sue? I just inherited a game show, and I have to continue it because there are people out there who like to curl up into a ball and listen to it. Yeah, it's a podcast where listeners submit game show ideas for others to play on air. Well, it is. In fact, the dumber the better. Right. It's called Dr. Game Show. Some curled up balls consider it a tradition, while others call it a train wreck. No, not you, Sue. It's Dr. Game Show. If you're the sort that likes to listen to people competing for refrigerator magnets, then curl up into a ball and listen to Dr. Game Show every other Wednesday, MaximumFun.org.
Are you a 5-star baddie? If you answered yes, then Black People Love Paramore is the podcast for you. Contrary to the title, we are not a podcast about the band Paramore. Black People Love Paramore is a pop culture show about the common and uncommon interests of Black people in order to help us feel a little bit more seen. We are your co-hosts, Sequoia Holmes,
Jewel Wicker,
and Ryan Graham.
And in each episode, we dissect one pop culture topic that mainstream media doesn't associate with the Black people, but we know that we like.
We get into topics like ginger ale, the Golden Girls, Black romance, Uno, and so much more.
Tune in every other Thursday to the podcast that's dedicated to helping Black people feel more seen. Find Black People Love Paramore on MaximumFun.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Now, you had a couple of other animals with different relationships to disgust or fear that you wanted to talk about. And one of them I'm really excited about is the hyena.
Yeah, I do just love hyenas.
Gorgeous animals.
Yeah, you think so?
I think they're beautiful. They have a puppy face and like a unique shaped ear that I find very cute. Whenever I see one, I think it's cute.
Yeah, and I think that they're really smart and misunderstood.
Right.
And they definitely get a rough deal when it comes to our attraction towards, like, aesthetic animals. I mean, I guess it's rough when you have to go against, like, the lion, arguably, like, at least in the West, like, the most revered animal.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah, you ask someone what their favorite animal is, and there's like a 20% chance they're going to say lion.
Yeah, so I think that just based on that, and, you know, in media, things like The Lion King, which is obviously an incredible film, but they're natural enemies. And then I think in Africa as well, they're often associated with things like witchcraft. So they get a hard press all around, and they're seen as lowly because of they can eat putrid flesh and bones, and they have amazingly acidic stomachs that allow them to do that, and very strong bites and huge teeth. But that actually provides the very important service of cleaning up the plains. And if we didn't have that, then, well, it would just be rotting flesh everywhere.
Yeah, why are we dunking on them and roasting them for basically, like, you know, taking out our trash? Like, that's rude, first of all. Like, we should be thanking them. Like, you think the hyenas are like, you're welcome? Jeez.
Yeah, it's a thankless task.
It is.
Being the cleaners of the savannah. Yeah, all we do is send hate in their direction, and it's got to stop.
I wonder if it's a misogyny thing.
You know what? It could be. I actually was thinking about this and how I guess probably people's best known representation of hyenas in media, other than like in documentaries, is probably the Lion King.
For sure.
And even there, I was like, well, they don't have. It's not too explicit, and I guess we can touch on how it could be, but even there, Shenzi is in charge, and she's a powerful woman. So yeah, the thing about hyenas is that they live in matriarchal lines, spotted hyenas, and they have a very unusual body plan even amongst hyenas. So there's definitely, perhaps, they reject the gender norms that humans resign themselves to or confine themselves to. The female spotted hyena, she has a pseudophallus, so she basically outwardly appears male. Love that for her.
Can you imagine the first scientist who, like, figured that out and just completely blue screened their brain? Like, science.exe has stopped working.
Yeah, I do wonder how they found that out. And until that discovery, were scientists all like, it's weird how all hyenas are male.
Yeah, because I guess outwardly it would appear that they're just all male.
Yeah, and they probably checked, and they were like, well, I'm going to go to sleep and wake up and check again tomorrow on a different hyena. And then eventually they got the hint. But even other hyenas actually don't have this unusual trait. It's unique to the spotted hyena. And I think that there are some theories about why it might be so, but it's actually still quite mysterious.
I am wondering, like, what selective pressure could there possibly have been to this degree? It seems like such a specific adaptation. I'm just wondering, like, what pressure? What pressure?
Well, I think one of the ideas is that because it's such an awkward organ, not only do they pee out of this pseudophallus, they also mate and give birth through it. So
Unimaginable. Unimaginable.
Yeah, and yet I'm imagining, and I'm sure you are too.
And yet I am imagining.
In vivid detail.
I've given birth twice, and I feel like it's not that I can't imagine it, it's that my brain is attempting to protect me by refusing to.
Yeah, that's interesting, but that probably makes it more, that's gonna make it keep coming back when you're not supposed to think about something.
I'm gonna have fun dreams tonight.
Yeah, but because it is so awkward, one of the things that it might be doing is stopping forced copulation, because females have to provide complete cooperation if they are going to mate with a male. And just on that, it sucks to be a male hyena. So you are born weaker and more feeble, and you are evicted from your clan once you turn 2 or 3, and you have to go and basically beg to join another clan. And then you get allowed entry into a clan, and then you get dunked on by everyone, and you have little teeth that get worn down because you have to eat the bones.
Oh, I feel like this is like a supervillain origin story.
Yeah. Well,
doesn't it just feel like the kind of like childhood that you would see like in a flashback for like some sort of Marvel supervillain?
At least in their minds, but unfortunately they're probably let down by the fact that the females are just a lot stronger than they are.
Wrecked.
So it's like, yeah, exactly.
Skill issue.
Yeah, 100%.
Once again, I mean, I feel like we're seeing some sort of progressive angles in the animal kingdom, and in the ones that get the most ire, the ones that get the most sort of vilified.
That is interesting, isn't it? I think that that's probably a good example of how we just project our own morality onto animals.
Right.
Who are living completely different lives, achieving different ends, although really all wanting to survive and being perfectly adapted to doing that, and forgetting that not too long ago, our sense of morality was completely different to how it is today, be it 100 years or 100,000 years.
If you want to learn more about hyenas, check out episode 134 on hyenas with Dr. Christine Wilkinson.
Actually, one other idea of disgust is disgust at people or at behaviors, is anything that reminds us that we are animals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we don't like to be reminded of that. We don't like to think of that. We like to think of ourselves as like spectators of nature. Like, that's not about us.
Yeah, separate.
There's something we talked about on not on this podcast, on my other podcast. It's called Spellbound and Gagged. And one of the things I talked about was the uncanny valley effect, which is the bizarre feeling you get when you see something that's like close to being human, but not quite right. Like you can tell that something's amiss, particularly common in robotics and in CGI. And like what you were saying, this idea of like, we don't like to be reminded like where we came from, basically, like because we want to think of ourselves as being like separate from nature or above nature or like presiding over nature. And that just reminds me of that uncanny valley feeling that I get sometimes if I'm like up close with some other great ape, like a bonobo, especially if you've ever been like really up close and personal with like a bonobo or like a gorilla or something, and you get this feeling of like their face being so familiar, but being just different enough that you get that feeling of like, oh, I'm relating to you, but also you're a wild animal.
Yeah, it's humbling. It's one of those humbling things because they are just so similar to us great apes. You watch them and they're doing very similar things. But then even something like a centipede, as you mentioned, who's looking after her babies. I also think there's this tendency in science, and I'll just emphasize that I'm not a scientist, but I am a man with a microphone. So here's my opinion about science.
A classic.
Especially in evolutionary biology, I feel like people working in their fields are always looking for the thing that separates us from other animals. They're like, even in Disgust, I found ideas that being able to imagine certain disgusting things is the one thing that separates us from all other animals. Whereas I don't really see it like that. I think that every animal is, of course, different, but I'm afraid there's no us and them.
Yeah, that would make me wonder, what would disgust look like in another species? Because I know for a fact what disgust looks like in my cat. I know he experiences disgust. I know for a fact he does. I can see it every time I try to give him an orange, which I do all the time, even though he hates them. And the face he makes when I try to give him one is really funny. So I keep doing it over and over again. So I know he feels disgust. So I wonder if how, kind of like in humans, humans will have like specific phobias or things that gross them out or give them the ick or something. If like you would see that in other animals too, how like animals would have something that grosses them out or gives them the ick.
I mean, I think that must be right, that because in the way that we're all individuals, so other animals, and there's different learned behaviors.
The other animal that you wanted to talk about on the topic of disgust, I think is perfect. The hagfish.
Yes, please. Also, as we've been speaking just now, I guess I've realized that, based on what you pointed out, there is a real through line of misogyny. And the hagfish is called the hagfish.
Oh, and, right. Hag. Yeah, hag. Like, I hadn't even registered that as the hag being like a, menacing witch.
Yeah, I think it just has come from the fact that they are ugly. They got that name in the 16th century, which is, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and deny it, though, that they are ugly.
Now, how did people in the 16th century know about hagfish that live at the bottom of the ocean?
Actually, that's a really good question. I have no idea.
I wonder how they crossed paths.
Yeah, what's the intersection between 16th century people and hagfish?
Maybe something ship related. Maybe they came across hagfish on like something at sea, like maybe a carcass that was floating or something. I don't know.
I imagine they will have had to dredge them up somehow because hagfish tend to stay at the very bottom of the ocean. Most of them are found at least 300 meters deep. Yeah, so I guess for those who aren't familiar with what a hagfish is, it looks a bit like a pink eel. It's a jawless creature. Also doesn't have a backbone. Relatable. I
can show you that they are represented in my tattoo. Hold on, let me scoot over so you can see my tattoo.
Oh, it's whaleful. Yeah, no, I knew this about you. Oh, it's really nice.
And there's hagfish in there, which I didn't even ask for. The artist did it on their own, and I couldn't be happier about it because I love those little guys.
That's really beautiful, and to me it looks like a blooming flower.
I know, it's so like full of life. That's what I love about whale falls, and hagfish are just like such a big part of it, Like, I feel like it's so teeming and blossoming and blooming.
Yeah, it is. It's like an oasis in the desert of the deep sea. And hagfish, again, like cockroaches and hyenas, another through line, I suppose, is these animals all happen to eat what we would consider waste. So in the deep sea, they're eating the bodies of carcasses that have fallen down. And when they do that, they then go and poo all over the deep sea and spread nutrients and help revitalize it. So they're these really strange looking animals with barbels, which are like little fleshy appendages on their face. And there's a big circular opening in the middle, which I didn't realize until recently is not a mouth. It is in fact a single nostril. Yeah.
That's so goofy.
It's goofy, yeah, for sure.
Because the real mouth part looks very Lovecraftian.
Yeah.
The real mouth part looks like power tools, I feel like.
It's hard not to imagine it like on you when you look at the mouth.
True. Yeah, they look they look almost like you could see like DeWalt, just like logo on the side of it, because it looks like something you'd find in like a mechanic's shop or something.
Yeah. But they, again, I think they have a hard time in the public image because of their appearance and the fact that they love to writhe around in corpses, but they actually have some magical abilities almost, and one of those is the slime that they produce.
Love this.
Yeah, it's supposedly one of the softest materials known to man, the slime.
That's such a pleasant way of putting it.
It's so much is about framing, isn't it?
Right.
Like you could describe the hagfish as a pink fish that delicately peruses the crystal water in its bed of glistening slime.
It tidies the ocean.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, you could put a real PR spin on it.
Same for hyenas and cockroaches. But this slime is something that is intriguing to scientists because it's got all these unusual properties. One being the way that it bulks up so quickly when it reaches the water. And there's this idea that it might be able to be used to help clean up oil spills because it might be able to absorb water and oil.
Ooh, I hadn't heard of this.
Yeah.
I had heard of applications for hagfish slime, but they were mostly, I feel like, cosmetic. I hadn't heard of them being used for oil spills, though. That's really interesting.
I think from what I know, it's just the seed of an idea, really.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah. As an alternative to egg whites in cooking also.
Really?
I've heard.
You could make a nice meringue.
Yeah, or just a straight omelette. Yeah.
There you go, hagfish omelet.
But the slime comes from these filaments that they have. They've got these fibers in their body that come in little 15 centimeter sections, but they're only 1 micron thin, and they have up to 20,000 kilometers of fiber in its body. But I don't see how that could be true. So,
well, it's kind of like how they say that, like, if you laid the entire human nervous system on end, that it would like reach to the moon or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's just how thin the strands are and how tightly they're coiled.
Yeah. A bit is mind blowing, and then they'll just release them, and then they expand and they will clog the gills of sharks that might be trying to prey upon them, and basically this superpower, this slimy superpower that stops them from getting eaten. They're also a really ancient animal, so they haven't really changed their body plan for about 300 to 500 million years. So I think that they're quite a humbling animal because they probably look quite similar to how we used to look.
If you go way back.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the story about the truck full of hagfish slime? This is from BBC. Oregon highway slimed after hagfish lorry overturns. Yes, it says a highway in the U.S. state of Oregon has been slimed after a truck full of hagfish overturned, covering cars and the tarmac with the animals and the sticky goo they produce. It says the 3,400 kilograms of hagfish were to be exported to South Korea, where they are considered a delicacy. No one was injured in the accident. The local authorities declared on social media that the highway had been, quote, slimed, and tweeted photos from the scene. And there's pictures of just this highway covered in hagfish, and also, like you were talking about, the slime that they produce, which in the pictures is very thick and viscous, and there's just like visible goo dripping from the car that I guess got slimed. Slime Time Live.
I wonder if the slime made the accident happen. I wonder how that affected how the accident went down.
You think other cars just started like spinning out as they drove over the slime?
Yeah, or maybe it slowed them down and it had like a safety effect.
I don't know. Well, nobody was hurt, so it doesn't sound like the worst thing that's ever happened in the world. But
that's good.
I do feel like maybe the revulsion or the disgust associated with the slime aspect of the hagfish, I wonder if that is less disgusting and, repulsing to people now that slime is having such a moment. You know what I mean? Like slime is now associated with like therapeutic, sort of like calming sensory experience. When I was a kid, slime was on Nickelodeon, and it's like this goopy, nasty mess that you get dumped on you as a prank.
Yeah.
And so like slime was very much seen as like, ugh, gross, slime, blah. But now slime is like a craft that you make, and they're often very soothing, and they're scented, and you squish them and they make a pleasant sound. So I wonder if there's like a different connotation to slime now, or for people who are growing up now versus people who grew up when I grew up, when slime was like blah, splat, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if there's a different connotation to it.
I'm sure. It's amazing how, as a society, we've come on in terms of accepting slime.
Yeah, there's been a real slime acceptance movement.
Yeah, it was hard as slime even 20 years ago, but
it gets better.
it does get better, yeah.
As a representative of the slime community, if there's hope for slime, then there's hope for all of us.
Yeah, amen to that.
I wonder if the hagfish will see PR gains from the slime turnaround.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, I guess it's like a case of how much exposure do they get? And they are probably an animal that people don't think about all too often. So perhaps, yeah, they should invest in that.
You can also buy hagfish slime.
Really?
Yes. Hagfish slime in everyday cosmetics. Your guide to the practical uses of hagfish slime. On the benefits of getting slimed by hagfish. Yeah, you can just buy it. It's like a cosmetic thing. I don't know much more about that. I don't do makeup, and I don't do a lot of cosmetic stuff, so I don't really know where it falls in the skincare routine. But it does seem like you can get your hands on this stuff if you want.
I guess you could use it for anything.
That's true. What can't she do?
You could just eat it. You could eat it as it is.
How about you have yourself a little snack and then you report back and let me know how it tastes? Because I don't like seafood. So if it has a strong seafood flavor, I'm out.
I did hear that it will probably taste of salt water. I guess everything from the ocean does. I will send you your termite mound a postcard.
Yeah, you got to forward it to my new address, which is the termite mound that I've taken residence in.
Yeah, I think that they could do. You can also pay for PR companies to give you a once over. So
that's true. Maybe I could get comped.
Maybe the hagfish should get up on that.
Yeah, I could get a bottle comped. I bet they would send me one, a review copy.
Yeah.
For more on hagfish, check out episode 73, where I did a segment on them. For people who have had a fun time learning about animals with a more disturbing allure to them, and who want to hear more from you, or who want to see the art that you've made, where can people find your work?
Well, I'm Nature Disturbed on Instagram, and at the moment I am illustrating and animating the creatures that appear in the Nature Disturbed podcast, which is available wherever you get your podcasts, so they say. That allows a more of a long form look at the natural world. I say we, it's me and an interviewee. Each episode, I sit in my kitchen sink wearing a cute outfit, often a bikini, and I introduce a topic from there. The current series is Wet and Wild, and I explore life's relationship with water. So topics include the deep sea, sewer alligators, snapping turtles, or astrobiology. And then I go on a whimsical journey, and I interview wonderful guests, including, and I hope this isn't a spoiler.
No, it's not.
But yourself.
Yes, that's right. I joined you to talk snapping turtles. By the time this episode has gone up, that episode will not be up yet, but it is coming. So subscribe and follow the podcast now, so that when it does come out, you'll be the first to know. It is also, like you said, it's like a multimedia experience, because there's also the art that you make and the things that you post on social media. I also would like to say, very well produced. Like, you do a lot of really, really cool sort of like soundscaping and like, I guess like a narrative to it that is very fun and very immersive. And it sounds great. So for people who really enjoy that sort of format where there's like sound design to it, it's really a delight.
Well, that means a lot coming from you, not to get sentimental, but thank you. Yeah. Well, I guess not to get sentimental, period, and then just end the sentence there.
Well, I will have links to everything in the episode description, so people listening to this can just scroll down and click through and follow your art, follow your podcast, everything like that. Yeah, is there anything you'd like to leave people with before we wrap up today?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess the thing I'd like to leave people with is buy art pop. I might be a decade late with that one. But...
like the Lady Gaga album?
Right, yeah.
Stream art pop.
We're taking it to Stan Twitter.
It was
2010.
It was such an out of left field action item that my brain for a second was like, I could feel my brain being like, hold on a second, we need to search the files. We need to go into the archives to find this one.
But for a serious one, I suppose, yeah, everybody who's listening to this podcast is already engaging with the natural world. And I think that's great because we live in a world where it's very, very easy to imagine that we aren't a part of it. But part of unpacking that is acknowledging that, in a way, animals are disgusting and so are we. But the other way of looking at that is we're all just doing what we do, and that's great.
Yeah, we can all be nasty freaks together.
Yeah.
It's liberating. Embrace your inner nasty freak.
And buy art pop.
Buy art pop. Well, thank you so much. It has been an absolute joy. It's always so fun talking to you. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and your enthusiasm. It has been such a delight. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been really fun.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you had some fun and learned something new while we discussed Disgust. Huh? If you liked what you heard, I would love it if you left behind some kind words for us in a review on your podcast app of choice. If you want to hang out with us online, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and Blue Sky. Links to everything will be in the episode description. You can send me an email at ellen@justthezooofus.com if you have a cool animal you would like to hear us talk about on the show. We would like to thank Maximum Fun for having us on their network alongside their other wonderful shows like the ones that you heard promos for here today. You can go check those out and learn more about the network and how you can be a part of supporting our show and get access to our exclusive monthly bonus episodes over at MaximumFun.org. Finally, we would like to thank Louis Zong for our theme music. That's all for today. We'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
directly
by you.